Hi and welcome back to AHA Golf, down here at the Springs Golf Club again in Oxfordshire. Fantastic golfing venue, catering for all your golfing needs. And thrilled today to welcome Josh Antmann, host of the Sky Sports Golf vodcast. Josh, great to see you. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks for having me. We've done well with the weather. I drove down in a monsoon and it's holding off at the moment, but thanks for having me. It's my first time here. It's great, it looks brilliant, great practice area as well, nice and quiet, so I can't wait to see what we're going to do.
Fantastic, well, pleasure to have you. Perhaps you could sort of pad out a little bit about your sort of golfing background, a bit of history and context, where you're at with your golf, and if there's anything particular you'd like to work on today.
Sure, well, so I've been playing, I don't know, 25 years, something like that, I reckon. No official handicap, I'm not a member anywhere because I don't really have time as such. But I would say I would play
to sort of move around a bit.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say I'm a 7 to 8 handicap or something like that.
Okay.
I feel I'm quite strong with my irons. My driver's maybe my weak point. Putting's very strong. Short game, always looking to improve. So I know my bad shot is a heavy strike. So behind the ball, I think I've always kind of suffered from that really. Maybe weight backwards, I'm not sure. But I'm always trying to improve all the time, as any golfer is really as well.
Sure.
But yeah, there's a few things I'm always working on, but this time of the year I quite like to maybe just practice a little bit, just do a few things here and there, but I'll be interested to see what you think today anyway.
Okay, well, we can certainly do that. Is there anything really specific with the technique you'd like me to look at, or would you like the sort of general overview and then we can put like a little roadmap together? Sort of a longer term plan perhaps for you to go away and work on things?
Yeah, roadmap would be brilliant, just something to work on like through the winter as well, because obviously we're not going to go out here in England as well, we're not going to be on many courses, but we were having a little chat before, but I know my hip rotation is not the best as well. I'm sometimes a bit restricted, not through any injury or anything like that. I've always kind of been like that, so I hit it a fair distance. I'm not a huge hitter, I've never been bothered by distance really.
Sure.
But yeah, hip rotation's one thing. Sometimes I have a lot of heel strikes, I would say as well, is one thing. Now I don't know if they're linked at all, but yeah, things like that I reckon.
Okay, well that sounds a very interesting backstory. Well, I think it's best if we get you set up, have a look at hitting some balls. We'll get you on video today, have a look face on down the line and put some TrackMan numbers to it as well. Brilliant. And try and sort of do some nitty-gritty analysis.
Can't wait.
All right, shall we do it?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Great, fantastic. Right then, Josh, so we've got you all set up. What club are you hitting now?
7, I think.
7,
yeah, 7.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. Everyone's favourite club.
Clearly yours. Ball to target line, you set up just inside the actual basket in the centre.
Okay.
Yep, so you see the 3 poplar trees.
Yeah.
So just off that.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm going to video you down the line to start with.
Okay.
So when you're ready, sir.
All right.
Right then, Josh, so we'll get you face on.
Cool.
Okay, so when you are ready, let me know.
Okay, I'm good.
Sounded good.
That was a good one. That was better.
Right then, Josh, so just taking a look here at the 2 perspectives, the down the line and the face on using the V1. There's a couple of really interesting points that I think will be like a theme running through the whole movement. But just to start off with, if we look at the down the line image here, I've just put your starting shaft plane in just to indicate a couple of things. If we start the club moving away from the golf ball, I know you said earlier that you've worked a little bit on preventing the club from getting stuck behind you early. Hopefully what you can see here is that your hands, and in particular your lead arm, just sort of works away from the torso a little bit in that first move, so slightly disconnected.
Okay.
And in conjunction with that, what you will see as well, if I just put a little circle around your pelvis here, can you see how there's very minimal, if any,
it's not
hip coil?
Yeah.
So given, if we just take you back to address, given that you have got quite a pronounced spine angle and a good pelvic tilt, so you're creating the right sort of angles to move on, there's no real pitch to that hip turn, is there? It kind of stays pretty stationary. And then to me it just looks as if the arms are predominantly putting the club there at the top,
rather
than developing that sort of deeper coil.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes complete sense, yeah.
Is that something that you have felt over the years?
So that's the hip turn is the one thing I know I've never really done. I've tried to have more of a hip turn, and I don't know, and you can see from there, it's very flat, as you know, we were just talking about just off camera. It's very flat and basically not much hip turn at all, is there?
There's no depth to it, is there?
Yeah.
So if you think about how the weight transfers and shifts, you're not really sort of setting yourself up well enough to then transition.
Yeah, and that obviously causes a domino effect on other things as well.
Absolutely, because it is very much a chain reaction.
Yeah.
So if you sort of add to that this face-on image here, and if we put a little circle around your sort of belt buckle zone, so thinking about like your lower centre, yeah, hopefully what you can see is when you start moving the club away, you've got an interesting lateral shift here of the hips. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So sort of if there was a wall down your right side, you'd be sort of moving into that wall, yeah? And as a consequence, again, there's no real change of direction or transition. It's everything's slightly out of sequence.
Okay, yeah.
So if you think about like any sort of, especially with golf being a stationary ball game, it's very much cause effect and it's a chain reaction. So if we set up well and start the engine well off the ball, other things, it's like a domino, isn't it?
Sure.
So for me, what I'd really like to try and do with your mechanics, Josh, is to try and improve the way that your lower centre works, matching up with the top half of the body, connecting you up a bit better, so the club, the arms and the trunk, creating that depth, so then you can transition.
Okay.
You know, we spoke a little bit about the feel that you have through the hitting area, sort of sliding laterally and getting a little bit stuck underneath. You see how that's quite prevalent here as you deliver the club? Yeah. So really under pressure, it's that hand-eye sort of
timing as well. I'd be relying on, I guess.
I mean, I know you've got fantastic timing. I've seen the shots.
But if the timing's off one day, then I'd be all over the shot, which I am now and again. So that would make sense.
And really, it's about that sort of dispersion, isn't it? The marginal sort of incremental improvement to the scatter pattern.
Yeah.
So it's not really a quick fix. This is more of a longer term thing, and I think with the winter coming on you now, I think it's a good time to perhaps think about the mechanics and how you can develop for maybe next season.
Absolutely, yeah. Sounds good.
So how does that sound? Does that
brilliant?
Make sense?
Yeah, it makes complete sense as well.
All right,
yeah.
okay, great. Well, I think we've seen enough of that now, so let's get to some technical work.
Great.
Okay, fantastic. So just moving it on a bit now to the sort of drill and the sensations, what I'd like you to do is to get yourself set up, feel that first move where the club, the arms and the torso connect a little bit more.
Yeah.
Set and pivot, a slight pause and then fire.
Okay.
Okay, nice and controlled with your tempo. Okay, nearly. Okay, and again, let's keep this going now just for a little bit.
I do feel a lot more wider at the top.
Okay, interesting how that's affecting
and we've not really spoke about width as such, have we? So
it's that first bit, that's it, and feeling just a little bit more rotation.
Okay.
All right, then you can set and pivot from there. Good, fantastic.
So that's the best strike I've hit today as well.
Brilliant. But interestingly enough, that's the first shot that you've hit today where the ball has started on the ball to target and it's hugged it.
Yeah, it has. Yeah. It
has. A little bit of a creeping left to right at the end, but it predominantly held on.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting thing to take note there is because we're adding this depth to your hip coil, not only are we connecting you up slightly better, but you're suddenly able to transition and actually get the top half of your body with your lower centre to match up.
Okay, yeah.
Instead of fighting it.
The sequencing's a lot better as well, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very much the synchronisation from word go. So once we set you up slightly better, which I think we're doing, I think you do need to have an awareness of the feet positioning, because obviously it's going to affect how the ankles work.
Of course.
And with the biomechanics, really that centre, the core area, so your lower centre, it's going to be much more fixed, and it's a rotational coil, isn't it? So you're talking about width. I mean, you're adding to the radius without doing anything.
We haven't spoke about width, have we? We've just done that. So
interesting, yeah. All right, okay, let's go again.
Okay.
So nice and controlled. First movement. Good.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Bit of club face control, but it's not bad.
It's good. I mean, taking it on from there, actually, Josh, the next thing will start to happen, because thinking about how the segments sort of interact and connect, I think you'll, over time, of course, you'll have more confidence to really be quite aggressive with turning and opening your chest.
Okay.
And then you'll have this almost like a sort of innate feeling to work the club more left instead of sort of holding it that way.
Yeah, because I've always all the good players, their hands come in and around left there. So that's kind of what you're saying.
The Hogan exit left.
Oh, Hogan was the best. He's the best. Yeah. Some might disagree.
Can we quote the page in the fundamentals?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, very good. So just think carefully. That's a little bit out.
Okay.
So you've really got to think the first move here, lead arm is hugging the body a bit more.
Okay.
Okay. There you go.
Okay.
Good. Oh, fantastic. Hold that finish as well. Really sort of hold the finish so your weight is more centered.
Okay.
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 All right. See a couple more.
Yeah.
Then what I'd like to do, Josh, is to video again so you can see the difference.
Yeah. Ooh.
Good. Good. Very nice. So how is that feeling in terms of the different positions?
So I can now, it's funny, since we've been doing that, I can feel the stretch across my body now where I wasn't before at all, and I can kind of feel it in my core a little bit as well. So I know that's a different feeling to what I've been doing before, but it just feels, as I said, it feels wider at the top. And I feel, the other thing is I feel I've got more time on the way down.
Good.
Which I never thought before. Because I said to you before we started, I sometimes get a bit flippy at the bottom because I feel like I have to catch the club head up. But with this, I feel like I've got loads of time there, and I can just kind of come down and
more
strike.
reaction time.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it is. Which is, it's an odd feeling because I've not done it before, but it feels easier. You know, I've only hit 4 or 5 balls with it, but it feels a lot easier than it did before.
I think it's interesting how the centeredness of your contact is improving as well.
Yeah.
As a result, so I think the strike pattern is creeping more towards the centre, isn't it?
It is, yeah. There's I think maybe one was maybe towards the heel, but yeah, they're definitely more centre, even slightly towards the toe, which I've always struggled with all my life. You look at my driver, the toe of the driver is so clean, you wouldn't believe it. But yeah, the strike is definitely.
Are there any grooves? Or?
Sorry?
Are there any grooves?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But it does feel a lot easier.
Keep the discipline with the way you blend. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, I mean, I feel I've got loads of time now at the top. That's maybe the best one I've hit today.
Fantastic.
But I feel I've got loads of time here now. I'm wide. I can feel I'm wide. I can feel the stretch there as well. And on the way down, it feels easier.
I think, for a tall guy, it's important that you maximise the radius.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, when we're all built differently, aren't we? So you're quite long in the torso, and you need to maximise your angles, the geometry.
Yeah.
But again, really, when you think, just sort of honing in on that first movement, a couple of things with sort of feet positioning.
Yeah.
But how you sort of start it and get the synchronisation, like the sequencing, as you said, suddenly puts you in a different position, and then the bigger, more dependable muscles can do the work.
Sure.
So you said earlier about sort of hand-eye timing, sort of having to react and manipulate. If you think really it's very much the action of the hands rather than the manipulation. Okay. And I know you touched earlier on about the sort of problems you've had with the elbow.
Oh, I've got awful. So I played a lot of cricket, so throwing, I played tennis, I played golf. So I have golfer's elbow and tennis elbow on my right arm, pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's now because of playing lots of golf.
Well,
but
I think what's interesting, and it certainly links in a way to your release pattern, because if you think about it in terms of how the structure of the arms work, if you have quite a lot of what I call outside rotation, then it tends to work the elbow predominantly with this rotational move here. But if the bigger muscles are sort of driving it, you find that the hands, the forearms tend to be more of an inside rotation.
Sure.
So you're not sort of using as much outside rotation.
Okay, that makes sense.
So in theory, because anatomically you can't actually rotate the wrist, it comes from the elbow. So if that's out of position here, you're always reacting. And your club face stability's not there.
That's true, yeah, exactly. No, that makes sense, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, great. All right, so should we get you back on the video?
Yeah, please.
Doing the drill, down the line face on, and just see how it's looking.
Okay, brilliant.
Fantastic. Right then, Josh, so I'd like to film you again down the line.
Okay.
And face on, just to have a look at some of these changes. So
Sure.
when you're ready.
Okay.
Oh, it's a super contact. Very nicely done. How did that one feel?
That was very good. That was very close to probably centre of the face, and as we said, it started on line and stayed on line as well. The wind's just picking up a little bit, but that was good. That felt good, that one.
Okay, Josh, so we'll get your face on again.
Okay.
So when you're ready.
There's a bit. I felt some sway in that, fun enough, in my body.
On the way back, or?
A bit of both.
But
But
it is a chain reaction.
yeah, it is. But the strike still was pretty good.
So just looking at this comparison screen, can you see that okay?
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. Yeah.
Okay, so the left-hand image was you at the beginning of the session, and this is on the right where we've got to now, sort of with the drill. So just a bit of a recap. You'll see the first move where the lead arm is sort of disconnecting a bit from the torso, club face getting slightly compromised, and then from halfway back to the top, if we just put a little circle around your pelvis area here, you'll see, I mean, really minimal is doing it credit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
There's no sort of coil, is
Yeah.
there? There's no hip rotation to get you into that right side. And if you think about stability and how you then want to deliver the club and sort of transition, you're just not setting yourself up to do it, are you? So contrast that to this move here, and hopefully, I know obviously you're following with your eye line because it's a drill,
Of
which
course.
is fine, but hopefully you can see how the left arm is much more on the chest. Can you feel anything with like your armpit area or the shoulder?
Yeah, so I'm really trying to feel. I don't do the towel drill under the armpit, but I'm almost imagining that and keeping my armpit quite close to my chest on the way there, so it feels more connected.
Almost like
and not
squeezing the head cover.
exactly. Yeah, and I'm not, the arm's not going there, and I drop it. So that's what I'm
Absolutely.
feeling like.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. However, if we just move on to the next sequence here, what you can hopefully see is really quite a transformation in your move to the top.
That's ridiculous.
So if we just zoom in on again this sort of central lower centre pelvic area, look how much depth you've got to the pivot.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And also if I just put a different coloured line here, you can see the pitch to the rotation, you know, is just totally different, isn't
yeah,
it?
wow. I didn't think it was that much different at all. I knew we were, you know, working. I could feel a bit of a stretch, but those two, they're different golfers, those two at the moment. So
I think it is the same person.
I think it might be the same person, but like you can also, my hands are higher and they're wider as well. So
because you did say about radius and how it felt wider.
it felt wider, but I can see from there, and that's probably why I feel like I've got more time as well. You know,
It's really interesting.
it's amazing that.
If you watch, if we actually just, I mean, this on the left here, I mean, I think you know, obviously it still is going to take quite a bit of work to get it sort of grooved in real time. But to me, that almost looks like you've gone post-transition and you're about to attack the golf ball.
Okay.
But actually, that's you at the top, isn't it?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You with me?
Yeah.
So this on the right now really does enable that little bit of a, what I call a diagonal sort of hip nudge. It's almost like a sort of a surfing of that pelvis across, slight lateral movement to help shallow the club. If you look on the left here, you can see how it just doesn't, there isn't really a transition, and the hand path tracks and the shaft plane gets a little bit steep.
Yeah.
And then you're just sort of jamming up through the release with quite a bit of hand manipulation. But here, because you've got a bit more space, see, it's just a totally different release pattern. So exiting more up through the shoulder line.
Yeah, the club face through impact there just looked a lot more stable. Just looking at that now on the right, it just looked a lot more stable. I wasn't, you can see I'm not trying to flip it at all by the looks of it there. And that's why I felt like the strikes were a lot better as well, and that would kind of make sense.
I think it's very much a case that the bigger muscles are working more because they've been unlocked.
Yeah.
So better synchronization, better sequencing, and suddenly, you know, you're turning and opening more and compressing it. you know, bordering on sort of Hogan-esque, isn't
Oh,
it?
don't start that, Andrew. Don't start that.
What page?
Yeah, exactly.
So, very good. So I think, you know, talking about like a roadmap and sort of some key things for you to actually picture. Do you feel there's two or three key areas there?
Honestly, it's great. Definitely the bringing the club here, keeping the arm close to my body. I think that's a really good thing to think of. Just as bringing the club away, that's a really good thing. And then obviously on the course, I'm not going to do. Well, I don't think I'll do the drill as a full swing, but just feeling.
Could set another trend.
Oh, don't well, maybe, yeah. No, I'll call Bryson. But yeah, and then just feeling that stretch here. I think those are the two things, and almost not think about anything on the downswing.
Right.
I think would be a good way to start, because you know, as a coach, trying to do 5 or 6 things in a swing, you haven't got enough time to do it. But just those two things, the armpit sticking close there, and not doing that with the club, I think as well is a big thing, which we were talking about. And then just a big stretch to the top, and then think about nothing else. I think maybe I don't know on the way down.
I think that's a really good point you've raised, because I often talk to players about the idea of getting into position at the top correctly and then almost reacting to where you are. So not necessarily thinking about isolated moves or positions through transition and beyond, because ultimately, like we said at the start, it is a chain reaction.
Sure.
And if you fire it up properly or load it up properly, your firing sequence should really be like, let it happen.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if you're out on the golf course under the gun, you can't really, the club's moving at such speed.
Exactly.
You know, you can't be thinking about isolated little bit. So
yeah,
that's really good. So
brilliant.
I'm very impressed, and I think you've got some really good things to work on.
Honestly, I can't wait. Winter's going to be. I'm going to enjoy winter now, I think. So no, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It was really
Fantastic.
good. Thanks.
Well done. Right, Josh. So it's been really good seeing you today. I hope you've enjoyed it.
I loved it. Loved it. Yeah.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed looking at your mechanics and sort of trying to assemble that sort of longer term diagnostic roadmap, as it were. Most importantly though, do you feel that you've got enough out of it and that you can take away and work on?
Yeah, loads of it. I mean, seeing the before and the after made me realise, I mean, we've hardly worked on anything really, have we? Maybe 2 or 3 things, if that. And just seeing that bigger difference, doing those smaller things is really good, because I know it's something very simple to work on as well. We've not overcomplicated things, I think, because that can happen in lessons sometimes, and people's heads are like, I'm scrambled now. But they were 2 really easy things to work on, and those were just in the backswing. I'm not thinking of anything in the downswing.
Absolutely.
So, I could see the difference in the ball flight and the pictures as well, the before and after. So they're really positive things for me to work on in the winter.
That's great. I think really, in summary, the keys for you from today: setup position is crucial, cause effect.
Sure.
Try and create that better sort of sequencing and synchronization, moving the club away slightly more efficiently, not allowing that lead arm to separate. And I think we really have hit a jackpot there with that sort of rotational move with the hips.
Yeah, no, it's really good. The hips thing, especially when we saw the after picture, I was like, oh my god, I've turned so much more. But but it feels easier as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you've enjoyed it, and hopefully we can touch base again, give you a bit of time to go and work on some of those things, get them sort of bedded in, and see you again at some point.
I'd love to. Thanks very much for having me.
Pleasure.
Cheers.
Thank you.